All the brokers laughed and said, there's no way you're getting $100 a foot at the top of the building. They laughed me out of the room. And the same brokers, when we went to lease this object of beauty, this masterpiece of the modern millennium, would say to me, I need to leapfrog over XYZ law firm. I need to be in that building. I want to be at the top of that building. So there was some comeuppance, and there was some real gratification for me to have such conviction that this building, designed by Renzo Piano, partnering with the New York Times, being built as an iconic modern masterpiece, would hold its value. And lo and behold, it was a huge value creator for the company, for my brand, and for my future.
Now let's talk a bit about, well, what you want to maybe talk about, which is one of your foremost biggest projects, and that has instructed your professional life,
Yep.
which is the Barclays Center, right? Which is that development. That development is a big feat. It's not small. It'll take us another slice of your skin, right? The pound of flesh that you have to invest into yourself to make things work. And I want you to define what that sentence means. What makes things work? Mm-hmm. I don't think it's just putting A, B, C together and getting 1, 2, 3. I want you to talk about the machinations you had to go through, the ordeal that you had to kind of overcome. And I don't even think that it's, not because you were just a woman. And I'm sure that there's a dynamic that we're going to talk about, right? But this project that you worked on, it was glorious for many, many reasons. I want you to tell me why, and I want you to tell me about the project, and tell me about that experience.
As a developer, you are what you build, I think. And so if you build a great building, as in the life of a developer, I think you could be super proud. So my breakout project was the New York Times headquarters because I competed for it. My then CEO told me we wouldn't win. It was an object lesson to let me chase it and lose, and we won. So I'd say to be in my 30s and win that assignment as a partner to the New York Times, the Gray Lady, at the time AAA rated credit, and to build an iconic building with Renzo Piano, that was huge. It was huge for me. It was huge for the company. When we became a REIT at Forest City and we had to do an E&P purge and book value creation for our piece of the building, which was just the 28th floor to the 54th, $1 billion of value creation.
So give me the massive stats behind the New York Times building. Give me those stats if you got them.
So it's a 1.6 million square foot building built in Times Square, a place the New York Times called its namesake for 100 years. They move every 100 years. They were picking a developer, and the competition was fierce. There were 5 developers picked. We were Brooklyn-based, building Metrotech, building
Small.
Scrappy buildings, not as Bruce said, my portrait's not in the Met next to Arthur Stolzberger's. So we were the underdog extraordinaire. And the New York Times, to their credit, ran a meritocracy. They ran a process that was to pick the best developer. I had built Madame Tussauds and AMC movie theaters on the south side of 42nd Street. We knew how to build in that district, and we competed. But when I went to Bruce Ratner and said, I want to chase this, we were invited. We got invited because when I joined Forest City, Bruce would never leave Brooklyn. And I'd be like, hey, how are we going to get in the big game? Bruce is the visionary leader of Forest City. And I then called 5 of the top real estate brokers in New York, cold called them, and asked them to lunch at the Four Seasons. And every trip from Brooklyn to the Four Seasons, Bruce would yell at me like, why are we doing it? It's the stupidest thing in the world. These people don't care about us.
Why? Why do you think that?
Well, how did I come up with that idea? But because I was thinking we got to get out of Brooklyn and we need to be in the big league. So MaryAnne Ty was one of the brokers I called. You share a name. It's odd, 2 women in the business. She was up here and I was here. And we took her to lunch, and she ultimately represented the New York Times in this competition to find a developer. And she called me and said, I want to put you on the list. And Bruce said to me, no way, no how are you going to waste our time and our money? We're not doing it. And I said, Bruce, I think we could win.
There's a ticket to get in. It costs money.
Well, it is the cost of the chase,
of course,
and the distraction, and the fact that he was the boss. So I said, even for an object lesson, could you just let me do this? And if I'll lose, and I'll learn a lot.
So there's internal fighting,
just proper friction. Friction can create light, fire,
constructive criticism, but fierce constructive criticism.
Well, he was the boss. I had to win him over, and so he said to me, "Fine, you can chase it." And so I assembled a group of people, and again, these are the kinds of things that nobody ever taught me these things, but I thought, we're going in to see the New York Times. We're going into their Eagle Room to present for this project. And I told the intern, like, we have to keep it so that everybody at the table has a role, and we need to have some levity. So you have to dress up like an old New York Times 1921 newspaper boy with a cap and loafers and a big bag, and we're going to put a schedule in there and an oversized scissor. And in the middle of the presentation, you're going to burst into the room, cut the schedule in half, and say that we can deliver this building on time and on budget. And it was hysterical. I mean, it was hysterical. And so the New York Times had report cards for each developer and each person on the development team, and they graded them. And
interesting.
What I think set us apart was we were not the obvious choice. We were technically capable because we had just built this massive project. We knew all the politics. We knew how to build the buildings. And they basically liked the fact that every single person on our team had a voice in the presentation. Like, it's not just the chairman holding court and speaking.
Right. You shared that responsibility.
Everybody showed their stuff. You know, the builders, the marketers, the leasing team.
A true show and tell.
Of the deep capability of the team. And there was a life lesson there, right? Which is that nobody dominated and said, like, I'm going to speak for everyone around this table. The Times picked up on that. We were qualified, and they were running a meritocracy. Lo and behold, they picked us to build this building. This
Excellent.
was getting our company out of Brooklyn to build in Times Square. And that was, it takes thousands of people to do anything as big and great as that.
In such a short amount of time, and in that age, it was pretty gratifying.
Well, through 9/11, we built one of the first skyscrapers after 9/11, which, you know, as you might recall, everybody was wondering whether anybody would want to be at the top of a building after 9/11 across from the Port Authority in a high terrorist target location. So many lessons for that first project. I would say it was my breakout project because nobody expected us to win. It's not about one person, but if there's one person who was affiliated, associated, and given credit for that, it was me. And so inside of my own organization, I catapulted up because we won this massive commission, and then we had to go build it.
Yeah, big balls, I'd like to say, right?
Yeah,
big
exactly. If you can imagine, yes.
Or big ovaries, whatever.
And all the brokers laughed and said, "There's no way you're getting $100 a foot at the top of the building." They laughed me out of the room. And the same brokers, when we went to lease this object of beauty, this masterpiece of the modern millennium, would say to me, "I need to leapfrog over XYZ law firm. I need to be in that building. I want to be at the top of that building." So there was some comeuppance, and there was some real gratification for me to have such conviction that this building, designed by Renzo Piano, partnering with the New York Times, being built as an iconic modern masterpiece, would hold its value. And lo and behold, it was a huge value creator for the company, for my brand, and for my future.
Excellent. So, you know, in the beginning there was resilience, that was great. Then in your professional career, there's rejection. There's rejection of the ideal of actually developing it just from your from your boss itself.
Yep.
There's rejection of the ideal of the brokers that are trying to help you and the brokers that are not trying to help you.
Yep.
There's probably some doubt there and self-doubt. Always. Like
but you never let them see you sweat.
Right.
So the doubt has to be...
the crippling anxiety going into that room and being fierce but trembling inside. You know, that feeling is a liberating feeling in a way when you get it done. Because when you get the big, even with me, when I get a big client, when we surge and we kick a lender's ass, you know, all up on the wall, and we're on the newspaper, on the front Times, you always say, "You said no, I did it. You said no again, I did it. You said no again." So confronting the impossible is in the confrontance of rejection. You keep moving, keep going.
I think forward motion is really important. I think at times I'm unstoppable without even realizing how unstoppable I am. I do not know how to give up. And the harder it is, probably the more interested I am.
Do you run hot sometimes? Do
yes.
people say you run hot? Yes.
Yes.
How do you cool your engines? What do you spa? You know, you go pet a dog or something like that. How do you because your internal temperature is 98.6. Your brain is 110. Right? Any caliber beyond that, you almost kind of die inside every day, and you have to keep cool. So what does someone, a prolific powerhouse New York City developer, that is a woman, right? Mm-hmm. Not that makes any fucking difference, but for intensive purposes, maybe it does. You know, what do you do to keep an even keel? What do you do?
So I'm older than you. I'd say, you know, time really does teach you about your superpowers. And being a parent, very humbling, right?
You have
People
kids?
talk about, oh yes, I have 3 children. And I used to say, like, what is power? I can't control the remote control in my house. I don't pick what we order when we order out. Like, I have no power in my house. And so it's great to be a parent because it really keeps your feet on the ground because your kids don't care. They don't care who you are outside in that world, right? So I love, first and foremost, being a parent and a mother. Like, it's my first
amazing.
profession. It's my finest work. My children are everything to me. So
That's
think
beautiful.
I really do think that it starts at home. And then from there, I probably felt like I was abandoning my kids every day to go to work. If we just go back to what happened to me,
Yeah.
I was abandoned, right? So I used to say, if I have to leave every day, my children, it better be good, like really fucking good.
Worth the cause.
The trade-off. And so I knew early on in my life I could never be in a job or a career where I didn't feel passionate, where I didn't feel like I could make a contribution, make a dent in the world, make them proud. Like, what do I have in my profession? I have the physical manifestation of all my toiling. So you want to talk about impossible? Yeah, it was hard to build the New York Times building. Very hard to build New York by Geary downtown. Super hard to build Barclays Center and Atlantic Yards. But guess what? When my kids remember where I was, they were at the top of the hoist. They were down in the hole. And when we ride around the city, I have the great benefit of pointing to the buildings that were being built when this one was graduating, when this one was in ballet, when this one was on the basketball team. I can actually point to the physical, concrete manifestations of my work. And I think as a developer, that's a huge thing because people who push paper, push buttons, right, and don't necessarily have a tangible something. I have an ability to speak to my children about what I did every day when I left. And it's really helpful to someone like me to be able to show the work, to be proud of the work.
The achievement.
Those buildings are going to be on the skyline for all of my days, all of their days. That is an incredible bounty to be able to bring home to your children. And I feel very fortunate for that because I need that kind of satisfaction. I need to be able to have an ability to take an inventory of what am I doing when I'm doing? What's it all about? What's it for?
How old are they?
Well, now they're 27,
Do they
25,
Do they
and
believe?
21.
Beautiful. Do they believe in what you're doing?
Enormously.